Hey, it's Lindsay from Buy Sell Love Durham. Thanks for tuning into another episode of my Tuesday morning market update. It's my opportunity weekly to share with all of Durham region exactly what's happening with real estate. Been some interesting changes over the last little while. And so we are still in the housing crisis. You might not think that because our inventory is up. But the interesting thing about the inventory being up right now, the good stuff is selling. There's a lot of stuff that is less than, let's just say, average, and it's hanging around not selling. So we've got lots of houses for sale, but the really good stuff, it's just a small portion of the market. So our federal government has tried to make some changes, or they have made some changes to try to affect and make the housing crisis go away. And unfortunately, what's happening is this. There's two sides of the equation. One is the supply side and one is the demand side. And the federal government really can't do much on the supply side because that's all municipal. They deal more on the demand side. So here's the changes they made in the last little while. Number one is, if you buy a house and you put less than 20% down, it's called an insured mortgage. Prior to the change that they've made, you could only buy up to $1 million house. So once you hit $1 million, you had to put 20% down. Below $1 million, you could put anything upwards between 5% and 20% down. What they've done is they've increased that to 1.5 million. Now, one of the reasons they've done that, there's certain parts of Ontario you can't buy a house for under $1 million. At the end of September, the average home in Toronto, the city of Toronto, was $1,113,000. So if you were a buyer and you had less than 20% down, you could not buy a house in Toronto. So number two that they did was they extended the amortization, the length of time to pay the mortgage back, from 25 years to 30 years. Now, there are some caveats on that. You have to either be a first-time buyer or you have to be a person that is a buyer that has not owned a principal residence for 4 years, or you have to be going through a marital separation or if you're in a relationship, a cohabitational relationship that's breaking down, you're considered a first-time buyer. The third thing they did, which I think is a great idea, is prior to this, let's assume you were a retired couple. Let's assume you got a mortgage when you're working and then the next year you retire. So if you go to renew your mortgage and the bank says, well, we want this mortgage rate, and you say, I can get a better deal at another lender, you would have to qualify with the stress test if you switched mortgages, which in a lot of times, if somebody retired, they didn't qualify. So ultimately what ended up happening was they had to stay with the bank that they were with. They've changed that now so you don't have to stress test when you shift from lender to lender. It's a great idea. I've got a blog that's tagged into this, explains a little bit more in detail, but let's just jump straight into the numbers. Last 7 days, we've had 208 homes come to market. That's down 40 from the week before. Kind of typical because we had one day which was basically, we had a long weekend, so one day nobody was working. So we saw fewer houses hit the market. We had 105 homes leave the market sold conditionally and 115 homes leave the market sold firm, which means we had a total of 220 homes leave the market. That's up 42 from the week before. So interesting. We're down 40 in the number of homes that hit the market week over week. We're up 42 in the number of sales that left the market. So we are in a good, strong seller's market. There's lots of buyer activity going on out there. If you've got any questions, I can be reached at 905 area code 743-5555, or you can catch me at the email address on the screen. Have a great week, all of Durham region.